Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate for a very special discussion. A sort of chilled discussion that we've not had for a very long time, actually.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking the 2023 Summer Blockbuster Season. The Guardians of the Galaxy has come out this week. We've got a review on there to plug that instantly. It's made a lot of money. We'll bring that ever so shortly. And we're going to talk about everything else coming out over the next few months. We're going to go through all the big releases, the big blockbusters. We're going to talk about what we're looking forward to, what we're not, formats, ways to watch them, all that sort of stuff. So this is more of a chilled stream. We're just previewing what is to come, what you can expect from us over the coming months. But before we actually take any further, Tate, today is a special day that
It is.
I say I forgot about it. I'd mentioned it a few weeks back, and then it just went blank.
Yeah. So today is officially Cinema Savvy's 8th birthday. So happy birthday to Cinema Savvy. I have cake for the occasion. George, I don't think you have cake for the occasion, do you?
No, I don't. I'm actually on a diet finally, so at least that's got me out of that. I do have water and a Diet Coke, so that's my liquor for today.
Good. But I was just going to say, I was just going to say, like, I didn't join Cinema Savvy on the first day. I joined in October, so all I've got to say is, George, congratulations, for sticking with the channel. And, we've had, ups and downs on the channel. We've had changes being made and stuff like that. But, the stalwart who stays on and stuff like that. And I'm so glad that, we were able to develop the channel together. And, I'm so glad that we're still going now 8 years on.
Firstly, thank you. And yes, it is one of those where 8 years is a very long time. And, you say you didn't join, but you came in October and things very quickly got more professional, which is a word I like to describe. And I came back, actually, because of how you'd switch things around. If people have been around that long, I think it was when we did Star Wars month in that December when I sort of came back into the fold. So, it's been an insane few years. And what's sort of scary is we're very lucky now. We occasionally get press. We don't get press releases. We get to go to press screenings. We get to go to festivals. We get to do interviews. I could never have imagined that in 2015. Not to blow smoke or anything like that. I think even the first time you did that festival was like, oh, we can actually go to these.
Yeah.
And that's how screening started. I think it was during COVID. It was Netflix stuff came first. It was like, well, it just shows how bad Netflix are. They just want us to have access to things, and that's where it sort of blew up. So, yeah, it's a very weird one, isn't it? It's crazy. It's 8 years. I feel like there's been sort of 3 variations of the channel there, right? You've got the podcast at the beginning, which it was 2 episodes a week. Then it was like pre-COVID, and now it's like post-COVID that we obviously rebooted and updated stuff during lockdowns, which was great. But it does feel like a different era, doesn't it? The last couple of years.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we've chopped and changed what we've done over the years, and definitely COVID meant that we could, up the content and change things around and kind of decide what we really wanted to do with the channel. And especially with, our better access to various different things, getting ourselves better setups, better microphones, better cameras, expanding our community, talking to more people and getting their opinions on cinema, and just being able to make it more into a kind of massive community type thing where we can ask on like our subscribers and people in the comments to just, have a general chat with us. We can ask on our friends who we've made through the industry to come on and, have a good chat about film, movies, anything really. It's just so cool that we're, over the years, we're able to develop it from something that was so small to something that, it isn't, we're not massive. We know that, but, we're so glad that at least we have a little community that we can stand by and stuff like that. And, I'm glad that we've kind of continued on, and I'm glad where we're at right now. And looking forward to what we're going to do in the future coming up.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. And I said the people that get involved, people that comment, that watch, that hit like, that subscribe it, that share videos, the very polite people that do that. They're watching us at their own time. There's hundreds and thousands of other channels that do the same things we do. There's a lot of great ones. We love getting them on as guests. We love getting to go on their channels, discussing it with them. And it's community driven. And I think the best thing you can do in stuff like YouTube channels like this is helping others in your situation, advice, anything like that. And that's why when we do stuff like the Spielberg series, when we get to bring on so many different people across 9 months, it's a great way for maybe other viewers to discover other channels, vice versa. So, thank you to everyone that's again ever watched it, that's watching this now. And kind of segueing away from the anniversary thing, because I literally didn't know until 10 minutes. The main thing today is Summer Blockbuster Season Preview, my favorite time of year for films. And we want to hear from everybody that's going to be watching. If you're not watching it live, do not worry. You can join us and comment your thoughts. We'll reply to the comments after. But we want to know what you're looking forward to seeing the most. Things maybe you're not. Things you think, hey, this could be an underdog. This could be great. People aren't talking about this one. If you think we've missed something, then also let us know. We're very humble in our questions. We do get stuff wrong. People can get stuff wrong. We aren't just facts. Although the schedule's been up against the FDA, who are the Film Distributors Association, so any issues we have to take on board with them. But as always, get involved. If you like this video, I would say hit subscribe, because we're going to probably have reviews out for every single one of these mentioned today. I say that scarily whilst knowing there's a horror film on here, and I don't really watch horror films. I don't think I've seen all the other ones in the series we'll be talking about. But yeah, people, if we miss a film, comment it, let us know, because we don't mean to. There's a lot of films on our list. But Tayte, where can people find out about us, other videos, and all that sort of stuff?
So people can find us on our various social media platforms. So you can go onto Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy. That's where we put up most of our content. You can also find us on Facebook and Letterboxd. Just type in Cinema Savvy, you'll find us on there. And you can go into the link in the description and find loads of stuff from Redbubble, which has all of our merch and various different things on it. Anything from pillows behind me to like T-shirts and stickers and whatever you want, really, printed onto a shirt just to help out the channel.
Definitely. So everybody, please take a look on there. And kind of heading into this, we'll talk about this video. So we've definitely done videos in the past where we've previewed the year. I know we've done discussions on like our favorite cinema experiences. A lot of the good stuff, as we mentioned, was after COVID. And we definitely have done like, this is what we're looking forward to seeing this year. Summer Blockbuster Season is different gravy. And certainly this year, and I'm going to kind of get into this in a little bit, but I think, I'm not saying the box office is back. I think it is. We're in this new evolution now where I'm happy to say I don't think COVID is affecting box office anymore. That's my statement. It's not a fact. That's a statement I'm making. What I think is happening now is the general audience, the people that make the money, not fans. It's the general audience that make money for these films. They are very carefully choosing what they will go and watch on the big screen now, which is very understandable. Not with the state of how this country is or stuff like that. Audiences have so much access at home, streaming, box sets, services, X, Y, and Z. Going to the cinema, it has to now be. We've got to go to the cinema for this experience, and I think that's what it's going to be for the next couple of years at least. Which I think Top Gun were very, very responsible for last year in getting that. The older audience out and about, which hadn't been there. I think Top Gun and No Time to Die were probably only two where like the plus 40 demographic was really thriving at the box office. So we kind of wanted to do like a little preview. Now we know Guardians of the Galaxy came out this week, as we said at the start, and it's made $280 million on its opening weekend worldwide, which is good numbers. And I'm not going to talk box office things, it can be boring. It's only week one. It's the exact same box office opening that Ant-Man had in February. Now, Ant-Man's numbers weren't bad at open to worldwide. It was the second weekend onwards decline.
Yeah.
So Guardians, we hope, is going to...
Dare I say, like, Guardians has a bigger, broad appeal over Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man, even kind of from, the starting phases of Marvel and stuff like that, the two Ant-Man films, Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out, were never the top billing Marvel kind of properties to come out. They were always kind of the, hey, look, this is a little kind of cute side story kind of. There's no disrespect to, the people involved in the film. There's no disrespect to the character or the characters within the film. But Ant-Man just doesn't have the same appeal as your kind of your Star-Lords, your Groots, your Rockets, anyone else from the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of universe who have, made themselves very kind of beloved from characters that weren't really known going into the first film, or only known by the comic book kind of, by comic book people to, being household names realistically. So I feel like it won't drop off as much. It may drop off, but I feel like the tail off would be a little bit better for it. But this year for box office has been unusual. I mean, Mario movies already passed $1 billion. That's
1.1 bill, I think now.
Yeah, not expected at all. If anything, that's showing that, parents are willing to take their kids back to the movies, or at least, there is a market out there. So when we go through the films that are coming out for, this blockbuster season, it's worth taking that into consideration that, people are willing to go back to the cinema if it's the right film. And we need to discuss what is the right film, what isn't the right film, what's going to do well, what isn't going to do well.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of this is for you as well, as just that we know we're going to watch most of these. And when going back to what's saying about doing this channel, we still watch a lot of films we don't necessarily want to watch. And it's not we only watch it for a review, but certainly there is that. Certainly with a lot of people I know that do a lot of screenings as well. It's not about fear of missing out, but it's like I don't want to have watched like 20 films by the end of the year. And then sit there on my high horse and say, this was a terrible year for film, but I've not made the effort to go out and watch films I wasn't familiar with or didn't read up on. So it's more for my sake that I like the variety. And certainly one thing I would take out, like I saw Shazam yesterday. I'm not going to do my thoughts on it because we'll do it at the end of the month. But
that's really funny because I've also seen Shazam this month. Or did I see it last month? I can't remember. No, I saw it. I think you saw it last month. End of last month.
It's still a film from this year I wanted to watch. I was just in no rush to watch it. And it is that even though I've got a Cineworld card and I'm going to see all these films, maybe at screenings, maybe at Michael Cineworld, maybe some at the BFI IMAX where I'll pay for because some are worth that. It's one of them where it was done. I just didn't have to rush to go see it. And now I've seen it, it's done and dusted, and it exists on my Letterboxd. That's kind of how I see that sort of thing. And with blockbuster season, you don't get that luxury anymore. That those March, February releases that come out, they can sit in the cinema for a good month or two. But what's going to happen over the coming months is things are going to come in and go. If not hitting hard, they're going to drop off quickly. And it's, I would say, the first time of a real summer blockbuster since actually 2019. We spoke before about Pixar films, and we'll talk about one later on. But the summer of 2019 is one of the most insane summers in cinema. The Lion King made like well over $1 billion. Toy Story 4 made well over $1 billion. There was, I think, 5 films that summer that crossed $1 billion. I could be wrong. Was Captain Marvel also 2019? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. It was 2018. Ignore me. That year, and by the time we got to the end of 2019, I believe 9 of the 10 highest grossing films of the year were all $1 billion plus. And I think that maybe 7 of them were Disney films. That's the annual year. You had like Rise of Skywalker, Joker was one. I think Jurassic World, the sequel. That was an insane year. And this is the first time I think we're going to look at a box office that not big, not making that much money, but we've got competition every week. And that's kind of the premise of this video today, is that it helps us know what we've got to be watching out for, what we'll be watching, and it helps maybe people at home. Maybe there's some films they haven't heard of, but before we start getting into it, because obviously we're going to kickstart with May. There's only 2 really big films left.
Yeah.
And also, this isn't a preview of the entire summer movie season. That's not a real word. These are the
ones
blockbusters.
That have potentials for blockbusters.
Yeah, but these are blockbusters. They've got high budgets. They've got excessive marketing. Everything that ticks the box for a blockbuster. So that's something that is the key. We might bring up a film or two that isn't necessarily a blockbuster, but still has a big budget that could do well or will be spoken about. So there's 1 or 2 little exceptions in there. But so I'm going to put you on the spot first.
Go for it.
What would you say the best summer blockbuster is in history?
Now, I saw that you were going to pose this question, and it made me have a very long think because there are so many good options here. And as far as I'm concerned, as much as I would like to pick a film in the past that, has had blockbuster status, like your classics, Jaws, Star Wars: A New Hope, Jurassic Park, any of the films before my own time in the cinemas, my own time of going to the movies, I have to pick something that's a bit more personal to me. I have to pick something that really kind of stands out that I've experienced as a blockbuster itself. And for me, there's 2 options there, at least from recent memory and kind of thinking back and thinking, okay, which one is, has affected me the most? And between those 2, I'm just going to pick 2. And one of them is Avengers back in 2012. I remember being so hyped up going to the cinema, and I just remember it being an event. And I think it's the first time I'd been to a film that felt like an event outside of Star Wars, outside of seeing, Revenge of the Sith and stuff like that. So to me, that was massive. And also the one that surprised me was Mad Max Fury Road, because I genuinely can't remember a film that I had so little hype for going into it, and then having kind of heard and seen the responses after the opening weekend and the traction that it built up so quickly, and then the fact that everyone was talking about it, it spread like wildfire. And I mean, from last year, we had Top Gun Maverick, which kind of did a similar thing where, no one was expecting much. And then suddenly it built and built and built and built. But for me, Fury Road really stood out purely out of the fact that it was a film that made me immediately want to go and see it again. And it was like, it just drew me in so much. And that's why it stood out for me.
That's fair. To me, the answers are Star Wars and Jaws, 74
Yeah.
and 77. It's the two that created it, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to follow your lead. I'm actually not going to say either of them, just for people in a bit of background. I'll say The Dark Knight in 08 is one of two. And I'll say The Dark Knight not just changed my life, but that was like, there was event films, and then that was the first time I think I'd witnessed like phenomenon, where it was like, everyone went. Didn't matter who you were. Every person you knew was a person went and saw that film when that came out. Before the film, they were talking about it, and not just Heath Ledger's death. It was the fact that this Batman film is insane. This Joker is insane. Everything about it clicked, and it launched. As far as I'm concerned, it really launched the career of the director we're going to talk about a lot later on, who's very personal to what I've been able to do in my life. So that's life. I think it's a better frame. You said it. What's affected us the most on Lifetime. So I'd say The Dark Knight, and then I'd follow it with Maverick. And I know it's really boring because it's recency bias, but today was the first like proper sunny, warm day in a very long time. Like boiling hot. It's going to rain all of this week. It's rained all the other days. I went out into town and I was just sat there. The heat was there. I was in the car. The aviators were on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put the Top Gun Maverick soundtrack on. And straight away, it was like I was back at last year. Like I was back at the cinema. I'm driving to the cinema to watch Top Gun on an IMAX. And I think in the next 5-10 years, Top Gun Maverick's legacy will be like what we've spoken about in Mad Max, that when people talk about the greatest blockbusters of all time, the big screen experiences, that is high and mighty at the top. I say that, yes, very, very biasly. But I think given...
There's an argument there that both Top Guns are some of the greatest blockbusters of all time.
Top Gun, the first one, was it in cinemas in America for like 7-8 months?
Pretty
it was
sure,
humongous. Yeah. And I don't think, again, financially, people didn't expect Maverick. If someone had said to you last year, Top Gun Maverick is going to be the second highest grossing film of the year behind Avatar, you'd have probably laughed. For it to be beating the likes of Jurassic World, for it to be beating Marvel films, it was the phenomenon. Everyone was going to watch Top Gun. At some point, so many people went. And it stayed in the cinemas. It was still in cinemas when I picked up the box set. And it's one of those which I think is, as far as experience goes, it is everything right about a blockbuster. And full credit to Tom Cruise, the producers, and everyone on board, because they held firm on that film. They made sure it got its cinema release, and they've reaped the benefits from that. But yeah, that's like a nice little intro. I know we're going almost 20 minutes. But we'll start to get into it. So what we'll do, we've got the calendar, we know the month, we'll go for it month by month, and we'll talk about the big ones. And then if there's detail on the formats, because people are curious about this stuff, we're going to bring them up as well. But we'll just kickstart with me, because it's nice and easy. As I said, Guardians has been out. A lot of people have seen it, and I hope they liked it. I did a lot more after I loved it on the spot, and I still like it a couple of days later. The next big film, the first real blockbuster to me of Summer Blockbuster Season after Guardians, is Fast X. Fast and Furious 10, Fast 10 your seatbelts, whatever people want to call it, want to joke about it. It comes out in just under 2 weeks. And you know what? I know you're not a fan of the Fast and Furious films. And it's scary that these have been going on almost as long as I've been alive. That I have such insane memories of these, like when I was at school, let alone them still being made 10 plus years after leaving school. We're about to get the 10th one in a cinema. A series that is so over the top in insanity. And insanity, I don't mean it in a polite way. I don't mean it in a negative way. The fact that this series is on its 10th film and they print money. They really do print that money. I am so curious to see not what it's going to be like, because I've seen the trailer, I've seen the whole film. But the 9th one was the first time where, to me, they started getting self-aware. They went to space. They knew they were going to do it. They went there. They were making jokes about how no one dies, and that became a characters-centric thing. I don't know what on earth they're going to do in this new one, but people will still go. And the scary thing about Fast and Furious, is that a lot of people that watch them, and these are people that I know, and I'm not, these aren't like my close friends. That sounds terrible. I mean, my close friends like it, they can like it, it's fine. But there are people I know that go to the cinema to watch the fast films and think it's like cutting edge action. And that's what scares me more. That people are in because they're in on the joke, which is the best way to be.
Yeah.
But there are people that are in because, like Vin Diesel, it is to them the real deal. And I know you've never seen them, so it's weird to get your thoughts on a preview. But from an outside opinion, just your thoughts, because it is a blockbuster, right? I mean, who'd have thought it was 10 films?
Yeah. Oh, this film's going to do fantastic on the Summer Blockbuster season. I know it is. It'll make a bill. Did the last film make a bill?
No, but it was the first big blockbuster after COVID. I think it made
this film make a bill
720 mil, which was insane when it released. That was spring 21, summer 2021.
I think just from seeing the advertising, because I've seen it advertised quite a lot, and dear God, this film looks dumb. And that really does appeal to some people. And I'm not going to, take the piss out of, the film itself and demographic, because, like, honestly, fair play. They've locked onto, a film formula that works. They know they can get away with being as wacky as they can. At this point, it is legit wacky racers, but like, buff men doing it kind of thing. It could be the most ridiculous film ever. It can make absolutely no sense, and people will love it all the same. I think it's going to do great in the Summer Blockbuster. I don't think it's going to top out. I don't think it's going to be the top one at the end, but I genuinely do think it's going to do well, and I think it's going to be probably critically panned, but loved by audiences.
I mean, I can't even remember if the last one was a panned, but what I will say, the Fast 9 press screening, that was the first.
Let me have a look.
So the first press screening we did in person was A Quiet Place Part 2, and that was regimented. They had like 10, they had about 15 different screenings for that film, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Fast 9 was the first one. They call them multimedia screenings for anyone curious at home. That means it's not just press, like members of the media, influencers, unfortunately, and other people. They all go to these sorts of screenings. That was the most insane crowd I'd ever seen a film with, because you knew that everyone was in on the joke that was there. All the people I was with, and it made it so much fun. They were giving out beers for people. There were photo ops. I was fully in and committed, and that's why I think they still. And then the new one's got Jason Momoa in. He's on a motorbike. There are middle-aged women who will be thirsting for the entire thing, and it's the most anticipated film of the year of Aquaman. And Jason Momoa is just so perfectly cast being in Fast and Furious. Like, he just makes sense to be in the series.
Yeah. Yeah. So last film got 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, but an 82% audience score. On IMDb, it's sitting currently at a 5.2 out of 10. So,
I mean, I don't really follow IMDb these days, but it's
and
it made a lot of money.
Fast 8, kind of similar thing. So critics didn't really like it. Audiences liked it a lot more on both fronts.
And that kind of makes me think of this, right? With this, I'm not sort of dissing on Marvel, but I'm sort of this modern insanity where people are getting fuming that. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, right, as a concept.
Yeah.
There are people that don't understand Rotten Tomatoes. It's not a be-all and end-all. And this is what really frustrates me is when I see discourse on it. And I know these aren't film people that do this chat, but some people think like critics get together and pick a percentage. They think that's how it works. And it never has, and it never was. It's just an aggregator, essentially, of people saying, yes, I liked it. No, I didn't. And it is insane at how people read into that. And in turn of that, the audience score has now become an even more insane concept where the people that think the audience score is real is because you tick a button saying, yes, I liked it after I went and watched it, which doesn't happen. Most people don't do stuff like that. So it's amazing seeing how they're sort of weaponized. But Marvel have gone through their first spell of essentially the Rotten Tomatoes score being a bit lower than they used to. And I'm sat here saying, but why do people care? If you're a fan of these films, you're going to go and watch them. I'm going to go watch a Fast and Furious film because I know what I'm going to expect. I'm going to have a good time with it. I don't care if other people don't like it. I know they're not films people are going to enjoy. But it's insane that people cry and scream and go mad that the critics' percent wasn't as high as they want it to be. And then their mindset is normally they start waffling about comics. And then like, the professionals who do review stuff for a living, they are watching hundreds of films a year. to do that for. That's just one of many 100. This is maybe 1 out of the 10 they'll want to watch. And that's why they get so upset. So I just want to say about Fast and Furious films that Marvel's going the Fast and Furious route. And it doesn't matter, because if you enjoy it, and no one's going to take that away from you. But Fast X, it's going to be on IMAX. It's not going to get a 3D release. It's going to stay in 2D, thank God.
Well, you don't want that giant pinball bomb rolling towards you in your seat.
It's like Indiana Jones on steroids, isn't it? It's like they watched Raiders and thought, here we go, here's an action set.
There's an Indiana Jones film coming out. Let's try and get some nostalgia points by, having a giant like bomb just rolling towards them,
We've got a great comment, Carl. Evening, gents. Mm-hmm. The Fast Age is a guilty pleasure one, especially 7, but this is it, and they're allowed to be that. Like, they're so to me, they're so much fun. And what's one of the maddest things? I've got a sister that's not really into film, not the one you know, and we'd always go. It's just become a weird thing where, like, it's fun. Like, they're just fun to go and watch. They're ridiculous, and I've got friends that are really into cars. And they, in turn, don't like the films because they're quite not about cars anymore. And I'm there like, it never really was about the cars to begin with. It's just what it's grown into. And listen, I'm going to go. I can't wait.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, we'll have an early review up. That's what I always like to say about stuff like that.
I haven't watched the Fast and Furious film since, Tokyo Drift, so I'm probably not going to watch.
And Tokyo Drift is great as well.
I know. So I did like Tokyo Drift, to be fair, but
Yeah, and loads of people always hated on it when I was younger. I was like, what's wrong with it? It's got the great song.
Yeah.
Carl, I might even do 4DX Fast. Now, listen, you might end up with a broken back. I did 4DX for not Mission Impossible, for Top Gun Maverick. It was a phenomenal experience in the sense of trying it. It's got to be the right film. And you know what? Fast and Furious is the kind of film you'd probably actually have a fun time doing that, actually. I wouldn't do a first screening in it.
I'm looking at all of the films coming out this summer. Oppenheimer, maybe,
It's come out of that radiation poisoning. Oh, yeah.
Why does it smell of burning in here? Like,
that would be quite something. Let's, speaking of 4DX, we could get drowned if you wanted to.
Sorry,
just turned on. We've got another film coming out this month, and I put it in the thumbnail. The Little Mermaid's come out, which this is going to be interesting. So everyone's had the chat. I think everyone's got their own opinions on the Disney stuff. It's not that I don't, because I don't have an attachment to many Disney things growing up. I've never really cared about the live action adaptations. Some of them, I think, started off with noble intentions. Give it Cinderella. That was always going to happen one day. Jungle Book, loved the technology side of things. There was Beauty and the Beast. I always saw them doing it. But there are some things where, certainly at least, I know it's all for money. It's your corporations, blah, 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 whatever people want to say. But when it became the tick list of what's next, I'm not saying I switched off them because I wasn't fully invested. I was just curious a lot of the time about the ones I was looking forward to. The Little Mermaid, I don't want to sit and say I got fond memories, but I think it was one of my sister's favorite Disney films growing up. And we knew it was on the list to be done into this live action stuff. Now, I've seen the sets. I know that there was a lot of practical elements. They built massive pirate ships like Pirates of the Caribbean. They shot on location in Italy. Loads of stuff like this. And on paper, The Little Mermaid's one of the golden age films, right? That's one of the films that's going to print money. It's going to be humongous. Like Beauty and the Beast, everyone will go. There's an audience there ready to go. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of any of this. Elliot from Hakuna Matata has, I think, done a few videos on it, which is well worth seeking out. But I couldn't care less about the actress in the sense of her ethnicity, her background. From my understanding, she's a singer, so she's got the voice to do the singing. Great. The reason I think the film looks terrible is because of James Cameron. Because I have seen Avatar: The Way of Water, and I genuinely believe, and it's not Little Mermaid's fault, I think every film is going to look terrible ever shot in water now that's not Avatar: The Way of Water. And I appreciate the technology. Appreciate you're not going to wait 7 years to do The Little Mermaid. And then there's a lot of other issues. But also, I just don't think it looks very interesting. Certainly the fish designs went viral in the last week with those terrible posters. But it's going to happen. It's going to be released. I'm going to see it. But I don't have any ill feeling towards it. I just don't. It's not the fact I don't care. There's going to be a generation of kids that, and I said this with The Lion King, and I know I was a lot tamer on The Lion King than you as well. I didn't mind The Lion King because I loved the idea of doing that in live action. And, you know, people hate that. That's fine. I'm fully understandable of situations of that. Me, I'm the tech side of all that. The Little Mermaid looks like it's doing nothing new, nothing outside the ordinary. And if I'm being frank, I think audiences are going that way. Now, there will be some people that have a different approach in the sense of why they don't want to watch it because of a certain cast or whatever. That's not me. This is just my mindset of I'm just not bothered. And also, not the fact it's coming out before Fast and Furious, just after, sorry. I may well be understating the audience. So we just spoke about Mario, right? It's hit 1.1 bill this weekend.
Yeah.
Family film. There are going to be a lot of people who grew up with The Little Mermaid who take their kids to the cinema to watch this. And these will be the audiences that aren't, as we speak all the time, this is the general audience. These will be non-film people. They want to take their kids to see the Disney film they saw in this live-action way. Now, they might also say, hey, let's wait 6 weeks. It'll be on Disney+, which I know Disney Plus don't do anymore for Barbie, but they could still do it if they needed to. So I'm very... looking at finance, I'm not fussed about the box office, but I'm going to say it's not going to hit a bill. And I know it's not like a game of us doing predictions.
Yeah.
I think this goes two ways. I think this is a seismic hit or a flop. And I don't see a middle ground. Is that fair?
That's fair. I'd say something very similar. So I have very similar opinions to this film. I couldn't care less which ethnicity, Ariel is. It's a mermaid. It's a fish person. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is at all. And, the racism and hate online that this film's getting is completely uncalled for. When you've got such an easy target of all of the other live action films being not up to par to attack instead. It's, I'm not excited about it even slightly. I will watch it, but that's just purely out of, kind of, I've watched all of the other live action films and I disliked a fair few of them. There's only a few which I've actually quite enjoyed, and I'm not the biggest fan. I understand the technology and I like the technology, but I don't like the photorealism that they do with kind of, the live action, but also it's kind of not, it's animated, but it's animated very well to the point where it looks photorealistic. I'm not the biggest fan of that. And I don't know whether that will mesh well with the live action elements of this film. I know that in Lion King, we didn't have that kind of interaction. In this film, we will do for the first time. So it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. But for me personally, I'm not excited about this film at all, especially after, seeing Avatar, and also we got another, fish film coming out later on in the year with Aquaman, Lost Kingdom, or whatever it's called. It's, I think it'll do okay, but, at the same time, no. I've you know what, going with an open mind, it may be amazing, it may be fantastic, but going based off the previous live action Disney films, it just hasn't been. So
yeah, I'm kind of, and I know that they just did that Peter Pan and Wendy film, which I've actually had very mixed things about, in the sense a lot of people hate it, which is fine, but also a lot of people saying actually they've got a filmmaker in who's done a film. My observation on Peter Pan and Wendy is A, I've not seen it, but B, it's not even Disney. I just don't care about Peter Pan. It's there's been how many dozens of adaptations over the years, and
in the last 20 years there's been at least 10.
and this is it, and because it's in the public domain, and what I guess this is a Tarzan thing, because they'll probably try that again soon. I guess we would have been too young, right, for any of these when they were adapted. I mean, we weren't born when Peter Pan. So I started thinking, I was like, yeah, that's like the 50s. I guess the beauty of those were, here's this classic book, fairy tale story. There probably had been films, there probably been radio serials. Here's Disney doing it in their animation format, which is probably an amazing thing contextually in the 90s for Tarzan, in the 50s for Peter Pan. And in the 20s, you're just not going to get that for getting it in live action. Now, I know I said that hypocritically about the Jungle Book, but I see that for the Jungle Book. So it was like, how do you do the Jungle Book in live action? It's a human and all the CGI counterparts. And I think the intentions were there from the filmmakers, from the filmmaking side of things. But I don't think they have it. I think now it is such a dead on arrival concept that is the same thing, but extended. And that's why I'm at a loss to it. And listen, I know people are going to go, and it probably will be popular, and there's no issue with that at all. I couldn't care less what's pop, what isn't. But It'll be curious to follow that's tracking, but I'd say it's probably one of the ones I'm looking forward to least. There's a few. We'll talk about them, but yeah,
We'll talk
it's
about the
not.
few, yeah.
Yeah, I put it in the thumbnail, and also people at home they've put it in 3D. It wasn't shot in 3D. It's been converted in post to 3D. It's already really dark. The actual lighting, everything from the underwater filming they've done, and to get the extra 3D layer for that darkness, but it is going to get IMAX for a week. And then what's interesting is for people that do follow like premium formats like IMAX, a lot of the time the studios basically buy up the rights to these screens a week or two at a time. So a lot of these will only be able to be shown for 1 week, and then the next week. So Fast X on the 19th, that's going to get 1 week of IMAX now because Little Mermaid's got it from the 26th, and that'll be very much.
I was going to say the week after it's taken up as well by Spider-Verse. So
Yeah, exactly, and that moves us on to the next one. Carl, last thing with Little Mermaid, it looks like a Disney Plus movie. That's probably actually the best.
Dare I say, all of the Disney live action movies look like Disney Plus movies, and we're kidding ourselves.
Except the Jungle Book. And the line, at least you can see the money in there.
You can see the money being put in, you can see the effort being put into those films.
I don't see that anymore. I think that's what. No. What was the awful one last year?
Pinocchio. Jesus Christ, Pinocchio
which just looked unfinished. It looked unfinished. The film looked unfinished.
It wasn't finished. It was pushed out so that people might accidentally think, "Oh, we're watching the Guillermo del Toro one." And they're not. It was awful. Yeah. But talking of animated films that high hopes and. My long shot prediction, this could do very well this summer. I think, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, from the fan base that it's built up from the first film to the amount of hype that it's been getting across the board, this is one to watch this summer. I think it's going to be great. But, sequels, it's always difficult, especially following on from a film that was so good, a game changer for animation as far as, the awards are concerned, breaking the cycle of, your Disneys, your Pixars and stuff like that. And, every single film is copying its style of animation. Now, every single film, including another film that's coming out in August, which is copying its animation style. The fact that this film was the catalyst for that, I'm very excited to see what they do with the next kind of step to it. The trailer looked fantastic. It looked like they were expanding the universe. It looked like it was going to have similar kind of levels of humor. It looks like it was going to have similar levels of kind of drama added to it. I think it's going to be great. I think because it has Spider-Man's name attached to it, it's going to be fantastic. And I think because of the hype that this film has gained since it first came out, since it got all the awards, since it changed animation, I think this film's going to be a big one for the summer.
I'm kind of with you. I think this has the potential to sort of sweep June and certainly like have a big impact there. And it's really interesting because when the first one came out, I think December 18, which had Aquaman, Mary Poppins, this, Bumblebee. And we're seeing 3 of those other ones have sequels this year. But Spider-Verse fascinates me because the first one I went in with no expectation. And I was genuinely blown away. And I think a lot of people would have been that same mindset that, I'd read my comics, I knew Miles Morales, I liked the character, I wanted to see more of it, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work in live action. Certainly, we had a chat the other day, I can't remember if it was off air and on air, about Loving Vincent, where, I said I struggled with that trailer, so I never watched the film. Spider-Verse was the same. To adapt to the new animation style took me a bit, and it worked so well in the film when I watched that for the first time. And I've had a lot of hype for this new one. My only slight fear is that it's a 2-parter. Now, I've got absolute trust in the creative team that they're going to make a great film, but I'm also slightly worried that nothing to do with the creative team now. Sony are Sony. They have interfered with more Spider-Man films than is possible. Films that have never been made, Sony have interfered in, and they do not have a good track record. And I think one of the reasons that first Spider-Verse film was such a great success is I think it was probably the least Sony's ever been involved in doing that sort of thing. And now we've got multiverses in live action. I genuinely believe, and I know people will say, "Oh, the MCU would have planned this anyway." I fundamentally believe that without Spider-Verse, we wouldn't have had that multiverse push we have now. We wouldn't have had Spider-Man No Way Home, having the 3 Spider-Men together. I think so much is owed to the first Spider-Verse film. I can't wait to see this. I think it will look bloody amazing on the big screen.
Could you make an argument that Spider-Verse is the reason why Everything Everywhere All at Once won the Oscar for Best Picture? Is that a bit too far-fetched?
I think the concept of the multiverse is something that filmmakers are interested in. And I think now the finances of the industry are happy for it to happen because they've seen successes within it. And I think it's that translation that audiences understand the concept of a multiverse now.
Yeah.
And I think Spider-Verse is a big hand in doing that. No Way Home is obviously a reason to tell, but I know that I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling that the script for Everything Everywhere was done way before No Way Home, and maybe even before Spider-Verse. There's I can't remember the interview, but they spoke about a big multiverse film came out just as they were entering production or pre-production or something. So I'd need to double check that myself, but it's a very good point, and I think audiences being behind it is because of this film, and I just want it to be really good. The first one is unbelievably good. Obviously, now of course we've had the Miles Morales game, we've had the Spider-Man stuff happening on the consoles, we've got the MCU Spider-Man stuff. How are they going to tangle with the animated one? I want to see it in IMAX. Now I don't know if it's in 2D or 3D. I would actually say this would probably be good in 3D. But I don't want to just officially say it's good in 3D.
Right, it's going to be a bright and colourful film, so that won't affect it too much.
Yeah, but, just the stylization could work with the animated panels with depth. That's the best. I don't know if it's going to have that, but also I can see why it wouldn't be 3D as well. But I think Spider-Verse is going to be one a lot of people are looking forward to, and I think there'll be not expectation, but I think there'll be a lot of people that have that very high up as their sort of most anticipated film of the summer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be very blunt here. Between this and one other film, it is my most anticipated film of the summer. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to do very well. The only issue is it's released into quite a busy schedule, and it's released into surrounding family films, surrounding action films, surrounding films that go towards different audiences. And even though it did so well with its first film, the one thing it's got against it is that it is an animated film, and people still aren't completely clued on to animated films, not just being for kids, but also being for, adults to enjoy as well. And so there's a weird kind of gray area with that. And,
I think it'll always be there.
Yeah.
What I'd say is, I think, was this originally due? This was delayed. I think it was originally good about November last year. It got delayed. And listen, like the games industry, if you're going to delay something to make it better, then it's the right thing to always do. I'll never care about something being delayed for the right reasons.
Yeah.
June's busy. I mean, it's got a nice slot in June, but like the late June and July is booming. And I thought this could have been massive in August, if I'm being really honest. This is August. It should have been August. But we move into, because why could it be a bit packed in June? Wow. 6 days later, we've got it Thursday the 8th over here in the UK. Transformers, Rise of the Beasts. It is not a sequel. It is not a prequel. It is this weird...
Is it a reboot?
Don't even think it's a reboot. I don't even know anymore. It's a new Transformers film, and it's kind of like, it looks like a spiritual sequel to Bumblebee. It's like the designs look like Bumblebee, but obviously Bumblebee was obviously set in a different decade. But this is set in the mid-90s. And it's got the actor from, oh God, I forgot his name, In the Heights, in the leading role. I completely forgot this film existed until a trailer came on recently. And listen, I like the Michael Bay... Anthony Ramos, that's it. I like the Michael Bay Transformers films. I've said this before. Certainly the first, 1 and 3 more so than any of us. And I've always had fun with them. They're what you go to cinema for, right? To me, they're like the Fast and Furious films. There is just action. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's entertainment. You have a good time. And certainly with those Michael Bay ones, visually they looked phenomenal. And also the sad decline of the Marvel visual effects makes things like Transformers look so much better and underappreciated contextually. But this one's done nothing for me, and I'm kind of not putting in a prediction at all. Like Bumblebee, this could be a surprise. Surprise in the sense, oh, it's good. That kind of surprise. I don't know if it will be, but I just think audiences have moved on from Transformers films. I say that this is going to do insane numbers in Asia. The Transformers films are very, very, very popular over there. Certainly the Chinese box office.
I think American market, European market, it's going to do terribly. I genuinely don't think people are going to care about it at all.
I just think it's
past its prime as a pardon the pun for the franchise, and I just don't think it's got the legs. to do it, but Asian market
Not in
will obviously
summer.
inflate its numbers. No,
Not in summer either. And that's what surprised me. That Bumblebee came out in December, and I actually think that worked quite well for what the film was, what it was trying to be. That, oh, it's a spin-off, oh, it's set in the past, oh, it's a bit more low-key, this one. That really helped it, I think, get a nice window. And it did well. Again, it was up against Spider-Verse, it was up against Mary Poppins and Aquaman. I just think, I think Transformers is not even needs to be put to sleep for fears. This shot like pre-COVID, I think, or during COVID. Like, this was one heavily delayed, and certainly, I'm not talking Top Gun Maverick, but a lot of the films that seem to have not done as well at the box office recently are the ones that were heavily delayed during lockdowns, because I think so many of them had done marketing campaigns, so many of them have put money in. They just take that break, and then no one ever bothers coming back to it. So I'm the same as you. I think this is one that I think if it's even good in the sense of quality, I don't think it will have the audience they had 10 years ago. So
not even slightly.
I mean, the fact it's coming out in like a month and no one's talking about it still. Yes, there's posters, there's been trailers, but
I mean, I've seen the trailers in cinema. Apart from that, I've seen no advertising for it. I've heard no one talking about it. No one going, "Oh yeah, really looking forward to that new Transformers film." It's such a niche fan base nowadays, and I feel like the people who are still sticking with it, the people who have been with it all the way, and it's kind of like they're forced into kind of watching the final films. It's there we call it Marvel syndrome. Marvel was starting to go that way. You've watched all the films, and now you kind of have to continue watching. You have to watch all the TV shows and various different spin-offs and stuff like that to still have a grip on it. And if you're a fan of the franchise from the start, that's quite difficult to walk away from, especially if they're putting out new content. You're like, oh, the new content could be good now. And, it's the case of like, was it The Last Night or whatever it was called that completely
still made a lot of money.
It still made so much money of people going, please be good, please be good, please be good. And it just wasn't good. But, I don't think it's going to do well in box office personally. But
no, I'm with you here. And kind of 9 days on from that, we have what's going to be one of the most interesting releases of the year. Friday the 16th. Now, I think I'm pretty sure I heard tidbits that this is coming out Wednesday the 14th in the UK. I can't find that anywhere, so I could be wrong. So I'm just going to say Friday the 16th of June still. The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton as Batman. We've got Supergirl. A film that's been in production for I want to say since 2010, 11. Like the Flash films was on the original Phase 1 DC era. And here we are in 2023, and they need the Flash film to release to reset the DC universe, so that they can try and move forward. There is so much to say about this, the circumstances of the film, individuals involved in the film, studio involved in the film, the new studio heads involved in the making of this film. I don't know what to think. I mean, I know what I'm thinking inside.
Well,
when I say I don't know what to think, I'm thinking audiences. I'll give. This is my thoughts on this film. If this was the film to reset DC, and I'll say this crystal clear, this should have come out after Blue Beetle, after Aquaman, after anything that was filmed before.
Yeah.
Put all of that in the bin, which is where it's going.
Yeah.
Not talking quality. I'm talking logically the studio process. That is not the current or will be future timeline no longer existing. We'll take some good things from it. John Cena, the Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, the James Gunn stuff, and Harley Quinn. And we're going to do a new DC. Why on earth this film is coming out in June? Why on earth they didn't recast Ezra Miller for various reasons? Various police hunts, police chases, kidnapping, all of that stuff. Stuff I can't really get into that's been well reported everywhere. Even at a point when I think the police were looking for him, he was filming reshoots on this film at Warner Brothers, which is the most insane story I've ever heard. I don't know how there was no repercussion with Hollywood, but they're very confident. They showed this film at CinemaCon 2 months before it comes out.
Yeah.
And it was unfinished. And obviously, people are going to tweet they loved it because they watched it there. Certain influence. I know Neil from Getting Comic Con was able to watch it at the London screening. I know he's a big fan of DC. I trust what Neil says more than other hype merchants. But I am just going to say this and upset people. I really don't care about Michael Keaton's Batman. But one of the reasons why is because Michael Keaton was finished with Batman. He did Birdman. Birdman is like his. It's like the what would you call it? Not like the treatment.
It's like his closure.
It's almost,
it's his epilogue.
Closure.
You know?
Yeah, it is. And for all intents and purposes, Birdman in that film is him as Batman. And whenever the trailer comes on, and he just says the lines, "I'm Batman," he sounds tired, like he doesn't want to be there. Let's get nuts. He sounds tired, like he doesn't want to be there. I know this is going to be don't say big hit. I know, what it would be like for fans of Michael Keaton's Batman, that grew up with those. Like I would always talk about with Tobey Maguire, that's their Batman. That's their character. He's come back after 30 years. I just can't fathom the circumstances around, not his return, but this film. Do I want it to do well? No, I actually don't, because Warner Brothers is a horrifically immoral thing releasing this and not recasting. Now, I know people say, visual effects, got to pay for it, it's paying more for us, blah, blah, blah. They're going to reset their universe. It doesn't matter what money they don't want to spend on it. They could put the money in, or they could have just scrapped it and just done a statement like normal companies, hey, it's a reboot. Moving forward, it's all a new reboot. So what I will say, I do not envy James Gunn, who probably has nothing to do with how this film has come out. If I'm being completely honest,
do you think he's obviously seen the film already? He would have.
Yeah, it's his job that he's now head of DC Studios. He has to. It's like when a football manager takes. It'd be like someone not Frank Lampard. That's a terrible comparison. But like if the new Chelsea manager came in tomorrow, he's got to get to the end of the season still. And I saw a press interview now. People can read a lot of stuff like that, and I'm a big fan of James Gunn and his films. Someone asked him about Ezra Miller at the Guardians red carpet, and you could just see the life drop from his face that was being brought up. And it must be equally as bad a situation for him. He took over in November. He had the Ezra Miller stuff. He had all of the stuff with The Rock, which was clearly massive behind the scenes. The Henry Cavill stuff. Warner Brothers have not run this studio very well for a long time. David Zaslav is completely failing. He spoke this week about how they need to return to theatrical after he lost, a lot of filmmakers for saying we won't do theatrical. I just wish they could have just. If they're going to willing, I mean, I know it's unfair on the workers to cancel the film, but I hate how much hype this film is getting. I wouldn't be surprised if it is poor, or it's got a lot of people carrying it, as Shazam did before it came out, as Black Adam did. That they get the right people in for the screenings first to say the right things, to get the pull quotes for the posters and the marketing and the trailers. But I would just say what I think as well. I don't think audiences care. Outside of Michael Keaton as Batman, I don't think anyone cares unless they're really into DC, unless they're really into comics. I think there's going to be more stuff coming out in the next month about this film. And I think it's a very, 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 very dangerous game they're playing with it.
Yeah, I'm willing to agree to that. All of the behind the scenes stuff involved, having a genuine felon on set as your lead character. Tough, very, very, very tough, to even support something like that. But I have seen people who are massive DC fans try and justify it online, and it's just, you can't justify stuff like that. Marvel fans are going through a somewhat similar thing at the moment. Obviously not found guilty yet, but it's heading in that direction, and you just have to kind of accept it, and you have to try and find ways around it. And with this film, it's the only reason why people, I'll be honest, the only reason why people are seeing it is because of Keaton. And apart from that, maybe just to see how they reset the entire thing. But then, like you said earlier, you've got Blue Beetle coming out later on in the summer. You've got Aquaman coming out later on in the year. Why on earth are they putting it here? Honestly, if they wanted to reset and rebrand and go through it, wouldn't you take one cycle? You either scrap all the films, or you stick Blue Beetle in the summer, you stick Aquaman in the summer, and you stick the Flash where Aquaman is right now, and you set it for next year, and you just focus on a couple of TV shows to tie you over that can be filmed not quickly, but quicker than filming a full feature-length film and stuff like that. And then, you know, just
the audience aren't dumb. They all turned up to watch the Batman. It made almost 800 mil. It was a 3-hour film. It was a 15 rated in the UK. People were able to separate that this new Robert Pattinson Batman film is not the DCEU. It is not Christian Bale's Batman. They're not thick audiences. They know the ones that are going to go, and I just don't think. And I think it's consciously there that no one watched Shazam. And you know, the insane Zachary Levi Instagram post where he was like, "Don't go and watch John Wick. That's really violent. We're a real family film." Yeah. And he's thinking, "Shit, I'm out of a contract now." And also, when teachers are committing suicide on screen in that film, and saying that John Wick's apparently violent, it's a difficult situation because it's current events, and it's the same as what we mentioned about Marvel. That people that are fans of these entities, these franchises, need to accept that people you look up to are not necessarily the people you look up to. That there are two sides to everyone. There's a person you see in the media, in the limelight, and there's a person they are behind the scenes. Now, of course, the two could be the same. It could be interlinked, but all I would ever say, and it happens a lot with football, right? And I think that's why more children have got older, that you see your favorite footballers come and go to your rivals, etc., etc. But it's not your life. It's not real. I'm not saying don't ever look up to celebrity. No, like, you know, you've got an idol that you love, then fair play to you. We've all got them. We've all got actors that we love following and stuff like that. But if they come out to be a very different piece of work legally, let alone like just morally, then that, you know, it's shit. But there's nothing you can do. Just don't lower yourself to excuse the behaviors of them, and certainly don't abide by a blind studio thinking that no one's going to care or people may have forgotten by the time things come out. And it's a really awkward conversation to have. And I know that obviously the stuff at Marvel is probably very different, but similar, I guess, that they've got a season that's just finished of a show that's due out soon. They've got a whole world being built around a character that they're going to have to recast. They've got a writer's strike, so they probably can't actually hire anyone to help them get out of it. Fully behind the WGA strike, because
100%.
It is awful, and the studios are trying to make them work now already, which is insane. But yeah, this Flash stuff, it's the question: is it going to be a hit? I don't think so. I like a lot of comic book films. Even the first weekend numbers have struggled to read now. You've got to wait for week 2 for the drop off. And when you get that drop-off on week 2, that tells you what people are thinking. Are they following your films? Are they watching your films? And Flash is going to be interesting. I think the posters are terrible. I think the trailers have been awful. Will I see it? Yes, reluctantly. Will it be a press screening? I'm not going to apply. But if an invitation comes in, and if it's a day I can do it, then maybe I will. But I am not sat there like, I'm there opening day. I'm there with family. I'm taking people. We're going to have a great time. No, none of that. This is a real tricky film.
This is the way I'm seeing it is, and I don't see Cinema Savvy as work, but this is the closest I would say to I'm seeing this film for work. You know?
Yeah, no, and it can be like that. It can be like that a lot of the time.
There's a few films at Son of that kind of fit into that role of like, I'm seeing this film because, you know, I need to.
We haven't had a review out in about 3 weeks. It's like
exactly
like that.
But I mean, it's a packed out summer. It's one of the biggest films of the summer, so it'll be going seen. We got a very interesting one next up because it's not going to be a blockbuster at all. It's barely going to make any money. It's probably going to do very well on the stream when it comes out. But just because I'm a massive Wes Anderson fan, we've got this in here. Asteroid City, which after watching the trailer again, I have no idea what it's about, but it looks like a Wes Anderson film. I'll watch the shit out of it. You know me. I really like Wes Anderson, so I think this is going to be one of the best films of the summer. Whether it does well or not, no, not even slightly. But
yeah, no, it's worth bringing up. I mean, I've seen a few of his films now. I'm not the biggest fan of his. I know that there's now an insane.
When are we doing a Wes Anderson retrospective?
The really funny thing is that it could have actually been for this because we've not really had much on.
I
But
know.
then by the time it comes out, we'll be on Mission Impossible.
Hmm.
Is he already working on his next film after, right? I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
he's already got his next film he's on. So who knows? But it's interesting kind of program because it's not really a blockbuster. It's got an insane cast list to be a blockbuster, but they're not the films that make that kind of money. But as far as counter programming goes, I think his fans will turn up to watch the film. And also that new TikTok trend has become insane. If people haven't seen it, they basically just like Wes Anderson their life. I don't have TikTok, but it is everywhere. It's pretty hard to avoid at this point in time. But yeah, I will watch it because listen, I've seen a few more of his now, and I liked what was the last one?
So
French Dispatch.
yeah,
I liked the French Dispatch. And I've not seen them. I've seen Grand Budapest. I've seen the one at the school, which I really hated. Had Brian Cox in it. I think I tried watching some more. I do want to watch my Sesame Fox. I did that for about 15 years. But
Phantasmus Fox is excellent. Are you talking about Moonrise Kingdom or you?
No, the one from the 90s.
You want Rushmore? I like Rushmore.
That's the one, and I know a lot of people love it. And I saw that, and I really struggled. It's like really, really struggled. But yeah, moving on from Asteroid City though, if we're just going to be brief with that.
Yeah. Oh, very quickly. His other film's meant to be coming out this year as well. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Yeah.
Is this the anime? Is it animated? Maybe that's why this is getting the summer release because I felt like this filmed a long time ago.
Maybe. I mean, the cast for it looks fantastic. It's your standard Wes Anderson cast. It's a series of short stories. It's Roald Dahl, so I assume it'd be animated.
Makes sense. I think it might be for Netflix that one actually as well. Actually, that might be to do with that. I could be wrong.
Maybe.
Let's talk. We're getting into the heavy ones now. Wednesday the 20th of June, UK. We get it 2 days early. Premiering at Cannes on the 18th of May. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The 5th Indiana Jones film. Harrison Ford returns. Steven Spielberg does not, but James Mangold takes over. Kathleen Kennedy returns. She's worked on all the other Indiana Jones films with them. Obviously, no George Lucas either. But I believe they were in talks with something. I think Spielberg and Lucas might have some influence. I could be wrong. But there has been discussions of them two sort of actively involved, at least in the production of this. This is going to be interesting. So I've got a lot of thoughts on Indiana Jones. Now, I love the Indiana Jones films, like a lot of people do. And from the day this one was announced, I've always comprehensively believed that this is only being made because none of them are happy with the fourth film. Now, Harrison Ford is not just a legend or an icon. He's someone that cares as much as he doesn't on interviews. He's very proud of his work. And certainly Indiana Jones is his favorite character that he's ever performed, ever played. Whatever you want to read into it, look at how he talks about Indiana Jones. I think, and I might be wrong to say this because it could be terrible. To me, there is no way they're going all out with Cannes 6 weeks before the general public can watch it if they aren't going to try and have an insane push at the end of the year for awards. If they think to give James Mangold a Star Wars film after doing this film, which is a pretty big thing for me, for them to do that call, there's got to be something there. And Indiana Jones, I think, has the potential to be the best film of the summer blockbuster season, but I am not sure.
It has the potential for sure, but there's so many that have the potential, that have things going for them already. I don't think it's going to be like Top Gun Maverick. I don't think it's going to be like no one had any expectations and, for a sequel and it goes and blows everyone away. I feel like it's going to be more closely associated, if anything, to dare I say Mad Max Fury Road, but that was also very, very different to its first film and kind of renovating and stuff like that. But more of like a sequel that is well loved, kind of, but not in the same way. It's difficult to describe, but I actually disagree with you. I don't see it that way.
Okay.
I see this film being very well critically received, but I don't see it making as much money as we think it will. I think it's going to be average. I think it's going to be bang slap in the middle. And the reason why I think that is because there are other films surrounding it. It's going to be watched by a certain demographic and only by that demographic. I don't think young people are going to be wanting to go and watch Indiana Jones, whereas young people wanted to go and watch Top Gun Maverick because fast planes.
No, I see. I disagree. They went to watch Top Gun Maverick because everyone told them to.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that's going to work with Indiana Jones. I feel like that's going to be more likely to work with Mission Impossible than it is with any of the other films. I just don't know whether that is going to appeal to the same demographics. I think it's going to do okay. It may be the best film of the summer. There is an opportunity. There's a few films that have that title swinging their way. I personally think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Mission Impossible are probably going to be the best films of the summer. Maybe Barbie or Oppenheimer have a shout in there as well. But for me personally, I don't think Indiana Jones is going to do ridiculously well. Like, I feel like it's going to do very middling, and I think it'll be acceptable. It'll be suffice to kind of what we expect, and I think it'll be better than the fourth film, but I don't think it's going to be like as good as the originals.
No, I'm the same with you on quality-wise. Box office, I can't even predict. It's because of what's coming in July. To me, it has a free run for 2 weeks until Mission Impossible, and I've said that from the get-go that those films felt way too close to each other. And the thing with Indiana Jones, now obviously I was not too young. I mean, I was 11 when the fourth one came out. I didn't realize till years later that it was like financially like one of the highest grossing films of the year. I think just behind The Dark Knight in 08, which is insane numbers. Oh no, it was 07, sorry. Or it was 08. It was 08. I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
And obviously you got to think then, it's Indiana Jones, the return of this iconic character, and it's regarded as one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And obviously that fourth one didn't live up. There's a lot of people I know that grew up with these films, and they're like, oh, the fourth one's so bad, do we need a fifth? And I do feel that that's part of the question. Now, I think it has the potential to do a Maverick in the scale of when Top Gun was coming out last year, I didn't make much of the first few trailers. And I've said that a lot, I think. I wasn't massive on the trailers. It was only until that first premiere happened in America, which was on like one of those like war boats or whatever they call them, where the critics started saying, and this isn't like critics say, yeah, film's great. And we know they're going to say that. It's when you get the ones that are like, we're not joking this time. This is going to be something else. That's when I knew. When the pull quotes start changing from it's great, wow, fun, exciting, powerful, yeah. When it actually starts hitting actual like real criticism, that's when people are going to go. And I think Indiana Jones, I think Cannes is smart. If it has an amazing, incredible reaction in Cannes, there's just going to be this subtle marketing for 6 weeks. And I'm looking back to Avatar. If there's one studio who can insanely market something in the space of like 4 weeks, it's Disney.
Yeah.
No one was talking about Avatar till about November. Then they hit that button and they went all in on marketing. And I think, I could be wrong, I think when Cannes happens, there's going to be some insane Indiana Jones stuff for 6 weeks. However, unlike Avatar, they have competition in the week. So Indiana Jones, I want it to be great because it's Indiana Jones. I want it to be great because it's Harrison Ford. It's his final film. It's got Mads Mikkelsen in. We got to see the 6-minute sequence of celebration. The action sequence looked great. Had a lot of fun with it. The John Williams score sounded amazing. I am sold on that. The second trailer I thought was great as well. It's still a tough sell. I do think it is a tough sell as well. So I think its American box office is going to be absolutely insane. Indiana Jones films do very well over there. But as I said, it all comes down to how are the films that follow it. And I don't know. It's tricky with Indiana Jones. And then Carl's just put, I'm not seeing many trailers to cinema like you want it to be great. Yeah. I got a trailer for it at Return of the Jedi, but not at Guardians of the Galaxy, which I thought was odd. But I didn't get a trailer
I got an indie trailer at Guardians of the Galaxy for me.
Okay.
So
and it would make sense because it's Disney to Disney to Disney, isn't it? Like maybe after Little Mermaid.
I was going to say then again, that was the first time I'd also seen the Transformers: Rise of the Beast trailer. So I was like, wait, there's another Transformers film coming out, like.
And I think if Indiana Jones is good, the people will go. But if the film isn't good, I don't think the people will go. I think it's really going to depend on how is it received. And it does make it... And I think this end of June, heading into July stuff is where it gets interesting. I mean, we want to talk about July.
Yeah.
UK, we're getting Elemental on this Friday the 7th.
We're also getting Insidious, aren't we? On that same day.
Insidious, The Red Door. I don't
know
how many
we've actually got...
there's been.
I was going to say, what we've got two double bills this month that, you know, could be the most polarizing double bills you've ever seen. You know, Elemental and an Insidious film, and then later on in the month, Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like, that's got to be, you know, on people's radars for, you know, crazy double bills.
I don't know how many Insidious films there's been at this point. There's definitely been a few.
Is there 5 or?
I don't know. But with Elemental, I think it's going to bomb. And one of the reasons why, I think it comes out in mid-June in America. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in a really bad release spot in America as well.
It's the fifth one. It's the fifth Insidious film.
But Elemental, honestly, 1 week. Kids might go during summer. That's why we're going to get it in July. But it has a Cannes release as well, which apparently only 3 Pixar films have ever had. One of them was, what's it called? Was it Soul, which didn't get to screen at Cannes, but got official Cannes accreditation because of COVID. The other one was Inside Out. And I believe there was one more in the past, which was also nominated for Best Film, probably one of the Toy Stories now I said that. But Elemental, some people are talking about very highly. I think it could be a dark horse to being one of the great films. I just think financially, Pixar's in a really bad time at the moment. They've had some films that should be released at cinemas that haven't. They've released some films to cinemas which shouldn't have been at cinemas. They've got release dates and release windows wrong for a few years. I would happily shove it under the rug in the logic of Bob Chapek has been quite an issue for a lot of the Disney companies. I'm talking Marvel, Pixar, animated, Lucasfilm. There's been a lot of decline of quality, releases, that sort of stuff. I'm going to go support a Pixar film on the big screen, but I just think the release date has absolutely no chance. And also the concept of Elemental, I don't think something that they're going to gravitate towards the kids as much for those big box office numbers.
No, and especially from watching the trailer, it looks more geared towards parents of the kids, not the kids themselves. Which I know you get that a lot with Pixar films. They are a little bit more grown up. They deal with issues. They tackle the issues head on and stuff like that. They're very good for, you know, ousting those issues and everything like that. But this film in particular looks like it's going to have 1 or 2 kids jokes in there, but a lot of it's going to be adult themes. I get the feeling there's going to be quite a lot of innuendos in this film as well. Like, I think it's going to be quite a fun film to watch. And, you know, ever since they announced it, I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. And from seeing the first trailer, it does look like it's going to be a fantastic film. But yeah, I don't think it's going to do very well box office wise. And same with Insidious. I think Insidious.
I just put it on because it's like a new Insidious film. I thought they're a thing, right?
Yeah. I feel like, I think that's going to do terribly. Although it's the only horror film out at that time. I know there's a massive horror fan base that would just, you know, go for those kind of films. It's in a massive window where it's got, you know, nothing else to touch it. Depends on how Oppenheimer's filmed, whether that's a horror film or not, but we'll have to see when that comes out.
Absolutely. And moving
on, let's get into the big 3 for summer then.
Wednesday the 12th moved up 2 days. The film I think everyone's looking forward to. Maybe not the most, but certainly I think this is the film everyone's entered this year knowing that this film is coming out. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Wednesday the 12th of July. Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. Ethan Hunt returns for the first time in 5 years. Part 1 of the 2-part finale to the Mission Impossible series. I am going to just get the prediction in now. This is going to be the best blockbuster of blockbuster season. This is going to be the highest grossing film of this season as well. And I think Tom Cruise and these guys are going to absolutely wipe the floor with any film coming close. They have just had a free year of marketing thanks to Top Gun Maverick. They dropped that trailer so early last year and it was attached to it. I saw Top Gun Maverick 6 times in the cinema last year. It was on all 6 showings. They then did the behind the scenes trailer, which was attached to Avatar: The Way of Water. And then they've had the same Dead Reckoning trailer amongst all the blockbusters this year.
Of all of the films this year, this is the one where you cannot watch in any other formats, like other than IMAX.
Has to be IMAX.
You have to watch it in IMAX. This, and I guess Oppenheimer as well, but specifically this one, you have to watch this one in IMAX. There's no way you're watching it on any other screen.
They showed a 20-minute sequence at CinemaCon a couple of weeks ago. They're that confident. Showed 20. Normally these like CinemaCon, it sounds very curious. CinemaCon, it's not a convention, but it's got con in the title. It's an expo, and it's an expo where the studios basically go together and they each taking turns. I think 2 studios do a panel a day, and they're showing the film. So Warner Brothers showed the whole of Flash. Last year, I think they showed all of Mission Impossible, not Mission Impossible, Top Gun Maverick. I could be wrong, but they do screenings, they do behind the scenes. Directors go. It's actually a really interesting event, and I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. And for CinemaCon, to everyone was talking about Mission Impossible that was in attendance, that was watching it. That's the big takeaway. I think this is the film that people are waiting for. Dave, Mission Impossible has come so far now to be a must-see event movie, and that's kind of it. They've grown and grown as each film has gone on. They have went from, you look at the first one, it's a Brian De Palma, it's a thriller. It's not a blockbuster, it's a thriller. And you just see the evolution of this series. It's had highs, it's had lows, but certainly from 3 onwards, it's got bigger in terms of reception, everyone. The stunts have got bigger after every one. And I think the audiences are in. And not to get into a Marvel thing, but I genuinely think that movie-going audiences, whether it's the younger generation who are maybe getting a bit older, maybe it's the old guards who have been waiting for films like this to come back. Top Gun Maverick, I think, last year is going to change the blockbuster cinema, and I think that became this moment of we are going to the cinema to watch this film that should be seen at a cinema.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is the film that everyone's going to watch. The poster is him off the cliff. The stunt we have seen, the stunt they've been able to advertise. They have not showed us stuff happening in this film else. And the stuff that is going to happen in this film that you've been able to find out online, I'm not talking leaks or spoilers, I'm talking like stunts, Tom Cruise doing videos behind the scenes. It is going to be huge. Carl, Mission Impossible has become my James Bond. Absolutely, it has done that. And it takes so much inspiration from the Bond films. It's always a really interesting debate seeing the Bond and Mission Impossible discussion. Fair play, Daniel Craig and Tom Cruise, they always credit the other one. They're not there for a whole sort of Marvel DC type thing. But just the stunts they're doing, what Tom Cruise is doing, what everyone's doing on these films, it's the Pep Guardiola thing. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
If there's a press screening, I'll be there. I'm going to find my way. I'll be there. I'll find my way. I'll be in that room.
I was going to say, I'm going to tag on to that as well. I
red carpet. I'll be going to the red carpet. I need to get a new photo of Tom Cruise. I'll be going to the red carpet. I'll be getting that poster signed if he's signing. It is going to be, I genuinely think, the best cinema experience of the year by a country mile.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be earned. And the fact that part 2 is wrapped as well. They delayed part 1 because they wanted, I say closer to part 2, it's 11 months after, but they didn't want to do part 1 and make us wait 2-3 years. This has been ready for a while. I know they've done a few pickups, but Dead Reckoning. I mean, we're doing the Mission Impossible series. We're going to be building up to it. We're planning stuff pretty fundamentally behind the scenes at the moment, people. Like, it's starting soon. It's starting into May, but there are plans in place. I'm speaking to people, things are being sent, and I cannot wait to start rewatching them. And it's because it's all part of the new one, isn't it?
I'd say, the way that, Tom Cruise and, all the productions he's been in over recent years has been able to kind of, reinvigorate his career, especially with last year with Top Gun Maverick. It's just, he's a big draw again. He is the big draw again. And this film has been in production for so long.
He's the last concept star, Hollywood star.
Yeah.
Not action hero, not action star. I genuinely think right now, in this point in time, he is the only actor's name you can put on a film and the audience will go. No other details. I'm talking not to slag them off, right? You've got Margot Robbie, right?
I'd say Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, Leo's
borderline, but yeah.
Yeah. Leo will bring in the crowd. But
dare
Tom
I say
Cruise
Keanu Reeves is knocking on the door again, but not quite there yet.
No. I love Keanu. Keanu is like a cult hero. But I'm talking like he's going to bring a blockbuster crowd. To me, Tom Cruise is the only one left.
Yeah.
And it's, as you said, he's reinvigorated his career over the last 5-10 years. Once more people have gone into, I know there's all the Scientology stuff and people, it's fine to have opinions on that. But his not like passion for the industry, but his approach to his profession, I think, is what people are willing to pay to watch. And his commitment for their experience on the big screen is equally as important as what theirs is to going to watch it. And I don't know if other people have that. And I think, I'm very curious for his post Mission Impossible films as well, because there's a lot in the pipeline, according to interviews from last year. But and then I think is he at this weird coronation concert happening at the moment as well? The
No
fact
idea.
he's there, maybe he's gone to try and stop Extinction Rebellion in the most important Mission Impossible yet. But yeah, Mission. I mean, just we haven't really spoke about this yet. I'm not going to just do a hype on the trailer, but just your thoughts on. I mean, because we didn't get you on Top Gun last year, but like, just
No.
Has it been one of the ones from get go? Mission Impossible this year, I mean.
Here's the thing. I've never been a massive fan of the Mission Impossible films. You know, like when they started to, I saw 1, 2, and 3, and then I kind of dropped off. I didn't see 4 or 5 in cinemas, but then I saw 6 in cinemas, and I really got on board with, you know, with the films when I kind of rewatched them through and stuff like that. And when this trailer came out, I was hyped, like, and to the point where I was like, wow, that was a really good trailer. I need to watch it again. And I need to watch it again. And it's kind of every single time I go into the cinema now, doesn't matter what film I'm watching, I'm like, I really hope I see the Mission Impossible trailer again. And it's the one trailer that I'm happy to watch on repeat and like waiting. There are other films that are coming out this year which have massive appeals for me and stuff like that. But this one is the big one. This is the one. Yeah. Do I think it's going to be the best? I feel like it's probably the best blockbuster of the season.
Same time I'm using.
I think highest grossing. I think another film is going to be the highest grossing, and it's going to be really interesting to kind of pitch between the two.
Are we moving on to Friday the 21st of July?
Well, we're moving on to my pick for the highest grossing. I don't bet against Pink. I'm saying it now. Barbie is going to be the highest grossing film this summer, and it's not even. I think it's going to be a tight contest at first, but I genuinely think that Tom Cruise can't even stop, you know, the wave of Mattel and, you know, the brand appeal of Barbie globally. And I genuinely think Barbie is going to be the highest grossing film of the year.
Of the year?
Mm-hmm. Summer and year. Mm-hmm.
It's a wild prediction. Barbie's going to be... The Barbie Oppenheimer duo is fascinating because we've spoke about it a lot. We both know people that aren't big on film that spoke about Barbie. People at my work talk about Barbie.
Oppenheimer's going to be fantastic. Will probably be a better film. Will be an Oscar candidate. Will be maybe even the best film of the year. But Barbie is Barbie, and it's gonna win this box office.
See, that's where I'm going to disagree. The Barbie film is a tougher sell than people think. It's fine for us, right? We're not just the fact we're in the #1 film. It's not like a Toy Story. It's not like Transformers, which deviate itself towards history. Barbie's going to have a lot of people go. But the film is going to be very different to what the general audience thinks. Oh, we know what it's going to be about. We know it's going to be Truman Show.
Yeah.
But, and I'm saying this all known and by a side, there's only one director left in the world who can market themselves as a brand, which is Christopher Nolan. And the people that are going to pay to
Tarantino?
Go to the cinema... Box office, they don't get insane numbers. True. He's a brand, though. He's very much a brand, like more so than anything. But Nolan is the one that has the box office receipts. Now, I know people say, oh, Tenet made like 200 mil. I was like, well, yeah, like it released during a pandemic. Yeah. It's so bad thinking back. But no other filmmaker was going to have a film make $200 million that month, that time, the first one back, the first blockbuster to get people going. And my prediction, I think Oppenheimer is going to be the best film. Now, I was very specific in saying best blockbusters Mission Impossible, but there's something about Oppenheimer where we got a new post last week. It looked like the Hunger Games, and I know we're getting a new trailer this week because Nolan said at CinemaCon there should be one in 2 weeks, and I know that they're now showing that Avatar IMAX Oppenheimer trailer at Guardians, so people see that that's the old IMAX one. I think Barbie outside of film Twitter and outside of social circles just isn't going to be a thing. I think people will still go and it will make money. But I think the actual competition of the box office, I think Oppenheimer is going to absolutely destroy it. And the reason is...
And Carl's pointed out exactly why it's going to do better. Social media is a thing. TikTok is massive, and this film is going to be propelled from...
So did Morbius, trends. And they re-released it and no one went.
Yeah, but this is going to be different. This is going to be different.
I think with this, Barbie's going to make money. It will be a hit, but is not going to be the caliber of. You just got to think, right? People are going to pay for these big screen experiences. I think Barbie. I'm not calling it a Netflix film, not that at all. When Barbie makes its way onto home media, like online streaming, it will be the biggest thing for a very long time. But I don't think audiences, families, parents are going to pay for Barbie over Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible.
I genuinely,
I could be wrong.
I genuinely think
the four quadrants of a cinematic audience, though, the four quadrants aren't going to pick Barbie. And you got to think. You look at the cast, right? Margot Robbie's last few films have horrifically performed at the box office. She is a star in the concept of actress. Everyone loves her. But she's not box office appeal. Neither is Ryan Gosling, as much as we all love him and as great as he is. I don't think Barbie has the thing to glue it. Certainly in the current blockbuster time. Now, if I think Barbie had to come out in like March, it'd be humongous. I think July, I think there's too much pettiness with Warner Brothers fuming Christopher Nolan left them, so they went and released a film on the same day as his new film. I think that's what it ultimately came down to. I could be wrong. I could be massively wrong. But I also think Barbie and Oppenheimer, they're gonna have August to themselves basically as well. But
I
think
like
Barbie,
looking at previous years and how well different brands have done toy brands in marketing their own films and stuff like that. Barbie is the biggest toy brand in the world outside of Hello Kitty, I think. And
it makes it a tougher sell to neutrals.
I don't think so. I really
Did you tell
don't.
a 50-year-old bloke there's a Barbie film?
Yeah, okay, that's the one demographic.
No, but what I mean is like things like Transformers are universal within history and everything. Lego movie is a great example, right? But then when Lego went off and did Ninjago, no one went and watched it because it was a brand of Lego no one cares about. I think Barbie, as big as Barbie is, when every other film they've ever done has been straight to DVD, I don't think it's got. It's going to be a hit, and I can't wait for the ball back.
I think it's a 50-50, but I fall on the side of Barbie being huge because Barbie has been a brand.
It will still be big.
Barbie's been around for so long. Like Barbie's been around. Yeah. When was Barbie created? Like, I want to say
probably like the 30s. I'd bet.
Yeah, I was going to say 30s or something like that as a 50s? Toy brand. 50s. So it's been around since the 60s. So that falls into that demographic that you're looking at. It falls past it as well. People who are growing up with it.
I think selling someone a film about Barbie is tough, and I think when these people discover that it's actually a film about not feminism, that's the wrong word, but it's a film about Barbie being more so than a Barbie figure, right? It's going to be a lot of not just Truman Show, but I think basically Margot Robbie's Letterboxd leak, didn't it? So everyone can work out what the film's going to be based off the film she was watching.
Yeah.
Whereas Oppenheimer, I know it's a tough. I say it's not. People will go because it's Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
They can trust that filmmaker. They've gone to the cinema so many times. Got a great question by Dave. Does Oppenheimer suffer because Tenet didn't do the business it hoped for? No. Tenet was, I believe, the biggest film of the year when it released on home media as well. Box office wise, it did as well as it could. Was it August 2020? People wearing masks. The box office hasn't really repaired itself till. I know people talk about No Way Home because it has been the highest grossing film since COVID, 1.9 bill. But a certain demographic didn't go.
Yeah,
I'd say Top Gun Maverick and Avatar are the two that's really. I was
going to say Top Gun Maverick and Avatar have bounced it all the way up.
But I don't think Oppenheimer's going to sit there and be like, it's going to hit a bill. I think Oppenheimer's going to get a couple of $100 million. It's got the cast, it's got star power. I think people will go for some of the cast, but I see Oppenheimer sitting in the cinemas for months because it's going to get the awards season run. It's going to. They'll time the Blu-ray for December, January time. I'm very, very curious what Oppenheimer does because I don't think commercially it should have had a July release date, and I've said that from the get-go. I also understand why Nolan doesn't want the facade of he wants it out in like November to do festival runs. He's never really done that. Even Interstellar came out in November. It just came out of the cinema in November. He likes the July release month. And Universal have had a very studio-wise, I believe Universal has been the most successful since COVID. A lot of B-list films have been big hits. They tend to have got things right. So I think the Universal / Nolan combo is going to do well. But it's a tricky one because I don't really see Oppenheimer as a summer blockbuster, but it kind of is one now. Again, like IMAX screens, it's the first film shot in black and white in IMAX cameras, to which Zack Snyder fans were screaming and crying about.
Yeah,
I just think it's a Nolan film. That's why people are going to go. The trailers are good, but it's not going to be a juggernaut hit. It's not going to be some juggernaut colossal box office hit. But I don't think Barbie will either. I think Mission Impossible.
I can see Oppenheimer doing very well, critically, and I definitely think it's one to look forward to for the kind of Oscar season and stuff like that. But I just don't see it doing commercially as well, because Mission Impossible is going to be coming out the week before, and I feel like Barbie
Everyone's
as well.
Going to watch Tom Cruise.
I genuinely think the decision isn't going to be Barbie or Oppenheimer. It's going to be Mission Impossible or Barbie. That's where the decision is going to come down to in the end. And that's why I think Barbie's going to do so well, because it's going to draw in the other audience outside of Mission Impossible films.
But do you want to be the guy that says, I don't like Tom Cruise, I'm going to watch Barbie? Is there going to be be people that like that? Maybe some.
Yeah, there will be.
But it's interesting though, because when was the last time we got...
I was going to say, if you take kind of this summer blockbuster season as a whole, it's got to be one of the biggest...
In years,
possibly the history of cinema, like one of the biggest.
And this is kind of why. And I think what's fascinating is we're going to head into August, right? But I'm going to put this. Originally due out on Friday the 28th of July was The Marvels, a film which has been delayed to mid to late November. I can't remember specifically when.
Good move.
Very good move, because I say this from day one, it's nothing to do with what people think of Captain Marvel. The Marvel box office is deteriorating. I'm not saying people aren't going. Nothing's bombing.
You don't want it competing with other stuff. You want it in a nice open slot.
Not that month. Not that month at all. I mean, I know there's Marvel fans that will go, but the general audience, you got to think, because the audience will go. They will watch multiple films a month, but they won't watch 4 or 5 in a month.
And I feel like they'll if the Flash bombs, they'll be like, okay, good decision, to avoid that slot.
And, putting it in November, I think it's by Dune and Hunger Games, which is potentially quite bad still, but I thought the trailer looked fine.
Yeah.
The issue with it being moved from the end of July is what's happened this year, which I think has been evident with Guardians this week. People aren't releasing films next to Marvel films. And we've known this for a while, right? And it made a lot of sense. It'd be commercial suicides to drop a film next to Marvel. Let's have a great example, Solo. Which came out after Infinity War, a few weeks after. But even this year, there's nothing from Guardians through to Fast 10. There was nothing after Ant-Man until Creed. They were hiding because...
You're giving them an easy slot there, but no one actually went to the cinema to see Ant-Man in the end. So...
And someone could have released a film earlier, but they wouldn't have known that until that film came out. I think what's going to happen now, moving forward for the next year or two, no one's going to be scared of Marvel films. Bar Spider-Man. Like when they announced the Spider-Man 4, not the proper Spider-Man 4, the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
I think people aren't going to be afraid of them anymore. Maybe Fantastic Four as well. But one of the big knockoffs of that film being delayed is August is dead. We've just had an insane discussion, by the way, on Indiana Jones, on Mission Impossible, on Barbie, on Oppenheimer.
On a Pixar film, a mad summer blockbuster season. And then the tail off is very underwhelming.
Yeah, Friday the 4th of August, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, that's the animated film I believe Seth Rogen's producing. I don't know anything else. I think there's a trailer.
I've seen the trailer. It's Into the Spider-Verse, but it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It looks great. It looks fine. I think it'll do okay, but it's whether it draws in, it's whether it draws in that crowd of nostalgia or bringing in new audiences. They've made the characters slightly younger, and because they've gone for that animated stylings, it'll probably be a very good film. The issue now is, when we look at the animated Oscar films, they're all going to look the same. They're all going to be Spider-Verse styled films, and Elemental, the film that's going to look completely different, is probably going to win purely out of the fact that it's the only one
we'll get to Mario.
Different.
We'll give it to Mario.
It'll be Mario, Elemental. It'll be Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles if it's a good film, and one foreign language film probably. Is it Suzumi that's out now? Like that, that will probably be nominated as well. So those are your 5 straight away for your best animated film prediction from here, and That'd be quite a competitive year, but I still think that Pixar would probably steal it if that was the case, even though Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse did so well with the first film and will probably do well with this film as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially about it. I think because they're all coming out summer-wise as well.
Yeah, they are.
You get
Yeah.
like momentum, don't you? But this Spider-Verse was a December film. It helped it perfectly get that Oscar. August is flat. The Meg 2 also comes out Friday the 4th. Now, I've never seen the first Meg film. It's about a giant shark, so I'm not going to be watching that. Thank you very much.
really want to watch you watch that film.
Jaws was bad enough going back to that last year for a one-off. But again, this is why this month looks dead. Friday the 11th of August, though, we've got Gran Turismo coming out.
Yeah.
Directed by Neil Blomkamp. For some reason, starring Jerry Halliwell, just because her husband's Christian Horner.
Yeah. I've seen the trailer. It's got Dave Harbour in it. It's got Orlando Bloom. Although I'm not going to lie, this is really, really bad. I thought Orlando Bloom was someone else when I watched the trailer. Like I was trying to pin who it was, who I thought he looked like, and stuff like that. And I was thinking, who's the F1 journalist?
Will Buxton.
Will Buxton. I thought it was Will Buxton. I was like, why on earth is Will Buxton acting in this film?
Well, this is it. It feels. I mean, the concept of the film is a guy that's playing the Gran Turismo games becomes a professional driver, which I think is atrocious as a story.
No, it's based off real. It's based off a real thing.
But this is going to Hollywood it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
World champion. We know that F1. I said it with it on the screen down there.
Yeah,
is currently in its worst set of regulations in history.
Yeah,
quite comfortably. This film was clearly greenlit at the peak, probably into 2020, probably into the Hamilton-Verstappen rivalry when things were looking good for the sport. Commercially, it's gotten through the roof with America because the Americans have decided to watch Formula One now, and they've absolutely decapitated what was a great sport. This film has only been greenlit for this very reason. Gran Turismo, the last game, good luck getting any of your fans to go and watch this film because they just screwed over all the fans with the... I don't know if you remember what they did, but basically they released an amazing game. And the game was beautiful. The drone was beautiful. The reviews were good. And there was this quiet fear that, hey, if they wanted to turn this into a pay-to-win service, they can. And then what they did, about 2 weeks after it came out, they did an update, making the internal costs of everything more expensive and making you buy cars with real money to play on the game. And they did that after they got the good reviews and had the database. So the game sort of died overnight. August is such a bad month.
I'm just going to say this now. I'm just going to put this out there. Between the 3 films coming out at the end of July, none of these films are making money. Not a single one of these films are going to make money.
This is why I think everyone in August is going to be watching the July films. Some people might go for curiosity for some, and this is again because the Marvels was the 28th of July, and no one wanted to have something out near a Marvel film. People were running riot. I think, and also none of these. Barbie and Oppenheimer, it became a battle. None of them wanted to be delayed. The head of Cannes got a bit grouchy that Nolan said no, basically, to Oppenheimer being at Cannes. He came out saying, Oppenheimer's going to change its release date so it can have an Oscar season push. It hasn't. They confirmed it didn't, and it wasn't. They just wanted out in July still. So that was interesting. But yeah, the 11th, Gran Turismo, it's a shame. Keep on the F1 talk? Have you heard about... Have you seen the updates to the Joseph Kosinski F1 film, which sounds fucking incredible?
No, this is the first I've heard of this, and now I'm immediately on board for it.
So people won't already look for... So Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick, is working with Jerry Bruckheimer, who also Top Gun Maverick, on an F1 film. I know you know this bit. Yeah. The story's Brad Pitt's playing the lead role, and he's an old driver coming out of retirement to help a younger driver. Now, Lewis Hamilton has been from day one been a producer on the film.
Hey, sorry, very quickly. That sounds like the plot to Cars 3.
Wait for it. Well, if anyone didn't know, Lewis Hamilton was cast in Top Gun Maverick. You must know about this.
Yeah, I knew about this. Yeah.
And filming of Maverick was November, and at that point in time, he was still in a title battle, so he couldn't have done the film. Now he would have been, I believe, one of the eight pilots, but not the ones more the background ones, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, people are curious. Like the actual G training of the drivers in F1 is actually similar to Top Gun, so logically it would have worked. Commercially, it would have been insane to see Lewis Hamilton in a film with Tom Cruise. But anyway, they want to do an F1 film. As I kind of made a comment, they're capitalizing on F1's popularity. The update from this week, because they're in Miami, so they're in America, so obviously the film stuff's coming out.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is going to be at Silverstone in July. Mercedes have designed a car that is Formula 2 that will function as an F1 car, and throughout the Silverstone race weekend, Brad Pitt is going to be driving an actual this car that Merck have designed around Silverstone. They've designed a new state-of-the-art 6K camera to go into the car's cockpit to use for filming, and apparently it's one of the smallest cameras ever made. And not only will he also be on track with other drivers, apparently at some points, which I still don't think that will happen for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
There was another big bit of information. Merck designed the car on track at Silverstone. Brad Pitt driving with other drivers. I think Hamilton is now involved in helping write the script. Probably the story points, not necessarily the dialogue.
Yeah.
But that film, and Tom Cruise has spoke to Joseph Kosinski and said, if you want a driver, I'll be in it. So whenever that F1 film drops, which I'm going to say, they're filming it this summer for footage.
So 2025.
I would say, maybe early 25. It depends on core filming next year. Who knows? That film is going to be insane. If the whole of F1 is behind that film, engineers, again, teams, then yes, full play to them. Let's just hope that they haven't destroyed what was a great sport already with the awful Miami Grand Prix today and Vegas happening at the end of the year. But sorry, just going back to Gran Turismo, that's why I also think Gran Turismo is going to be terrible, because a lot of people know there's going to be a better car film in production. But also on the 11th of August, sorry to sidestep from F1.
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion's coming out, which I believe is directed by Guillermo del Toro, based on the Disney Park ride. And I've just got to say, one of the worst release dates I've ever seen for a film called Haunted Mansion. Now, I know that we had the classic one with Eddie Murphy. Why isn't this coming out at Halloween? Why is it coming out in summer? What? And this is what really frustrates me with stuff like this, that people will go at October to watch films like that. Why is this a summer blockbuster? I don't think as many people are going to go.
There isn't even going to be a blockbuster. Like, I feel like
it's got a budget, though. It's got a big budget, I think.
They've tried to recapture the magic of Pirates of the Caribbean. They just haven't done it. They just haven't been able to. So having this film come out in summer, it's just wishful thinking. I don't think it sits right. I don't think...
No. It was changed after the Marvels changed as well.
No one's going to be going out of their way to see a Haunted Mansion film, no matter how good the cast is.
Okay, apologies. It's not Guillermo del Toro. It's Justin Simeon, but it's got a budget of 160 mil.
How much of that was spent on the actors is my question.
Wow, it's got Jared Leto, hasn't it?
It's got Jared Leto. It's got Danny DeVito. It's got Lakeith Stanfield. It's a good cast. You know, like I don't, and it's a Disney film as well. I feel like, from the trailer that I watched today, because I didn't even realize it was coming out until you posted it up, I was like, oh, wow, really? It looks like a Disney Plus film. It looks like not even like a high budget Disney Plus film. It just looks like a bog standard Disney Plus film. And that's awful. Like, that's terrible.
It's going to be a struggle for people to go, I think. I think Haunted Mansion, again, you do it at the right time of year, people will be inclined to go what time of year, but it's dropping that in summer. Same bit as Gran Turismo. Again, are people going to say, hey, we've got to watch this over Mission Impossible? Again, general audience, folks. Mission Impossible, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Indiana Jones will probably still be out at that point.
Yeah.
You know, there's big films, and I think August is a real mess. And sort of following that, we got Friday the 18th, the last big film per se.
Christ.
Blue Beetle, starring Miguel from Cobra Kai. The trailer looked terrible. It was shown before, guys. It looked awful. And this is the first DC film post the Flash. Again, what you said, this shouldn't be made. And you've got no disrespect to the casts. I know that we're getting a new background. Again, minorities that haven't really had these kind of roles in films. It's just really unfortunate timing. I think it's terrible.
Is this really bad? From watching the trailer, the character screams TV show. And the plot, from what I've seen,
looks low budget.
Screams TV show.
Netflix. It looks like a Netflix production.
It needs as in like just the story beats alone, not even talking about kind of the production value and stuff like that it looks like. It just looks and has the feel, and from what I gather from the story so far, that it needed to be a TV show, and maybe it would have done well. I mean, they managed to do Peacemaker well. You know, I know that that was influenced by James Gunn and stuff like that, but I'm sure that he could have had a hand in, you know, in some of it. You know, it's
And
crazy
again,
that
this
they
is a
went for
film.
film.
This is a film that's shot before James Gunn was ever head of DC, and it's again him having
Yeah,
to deal with their concurrent messes. And we've got Aquaman in December. It's a real mess, and it's shit for him. And I guess for all intents and purposes, they'll say Superman's the first of everything officially. This time next year, they'd have probably wiped it all out and said, "Hey, none of this really counted now. Now we're going to start properly."
apart from Suicide Squad and Peacemaker.
Peacemaker, yeah, and that's all it will be.
Yeah,
And rightfully so. And Margot Robbie, I know she's part
yeah,
of the Suicide Squad, but
she's Suicide Squad, isn't she? So
yeah, I don't see much else surviving, if I'm being really honest. But Blue Beetle sort of wraps up that blockbuster, and August is so. And I know that sometimes August you don't get Juggernaut films because
yeah,
people are going to use their July releases to get in. But I just August is so bad, and I'm not blaming it on Marvel because Marvel's was end of July still, but no one wanted to release a film near a Marvel film, and when Marvel moved that, other studios didn't react, which. And again, they've committed to their July release dates. Do you remember when Civil War's release date was the same as Batman versus Superman, and
yeah.
then it was DC that blinked? They pulled that back a month. I don't see either of them doing it. Barbie and Oppenheimer, and in honesty, they've sort of helped market one another. That's how I feel. Like they've
Yeah,
not that people care that much, but counter programming, they have each other, and at least it's made a bit exciting with discourse online. But I do feel that outside of film-centric zones, people won't care. They'll just see them both, or they'll see one first and then eventually the other.
I feel like certain films here, especially across the entire blockbuster season, have broader appeal, and
Yeah.
some don't. I feel like Oppenheimer's biggest downside is that it looks like an art film, and that ain't going to draw people in. Even if it has Nolan's name attached, some people are going to be put off by the fact that it looks like an art film. Whereas other films like Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, I feel like that's for general audiences. You know, you're looking at your films like Indiana Jones, which could do okay with general audiences. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, whether that's bleeding into general audiences or not. Fast and Furious films always make money. Barbie, I think, is going to do very well. It's an interesting season, and the tail off from the season is just awful. Just really, really bad. It is literally July, and then it's going to be an extension onto July, because even though all those films will be coming out and they'll be looking and competing for cinema space, realistically, the cinemas are going to want to put in films like Mission Impossible, like Oppenheimer, like Barbie, the films that are going to make them the money, the films that are actually going to draw people in. And the other films are going to suffer massively for it. Like, absolutely massively. So, that's kind of my thoughts and opinions on it.
No, I'm with you. I think as well. Sorry, just want to bring up that August month. No premium formats have been confirmed, which really surprised me. I thought Blue Beetle would be IMAX.
Yeah.
I don't see any of them bagging a week of exclusivity. I think cinemas will be desperate to get Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer back on IMAX as quickly as they can.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, even I know in August at least we've got Ahsoka starting, and in September there's not much out in September, but I know that in November we've got a pretty packed month. We've got June, Marvel's, Hunger Games. There is still big films coming out, but as far as Summer Blockbuster goes, that August is just so underwhelming compared to other years and other things. But again, compared to how it's been the last few years, I thought last year was one of the worst Summer Blockbuster seasons we've had.
Yeah.
A lot of that why films weren't ready that shot during COVID.
Or dare you say last year's was a bad Summer Blockbuster season because one film dominated and all the others, didn't.
And it came and conquered it. It beat Jurassic World, it beat Marvel films. Top Gun did well, but there wasn't that many coming out across that period anyway. Whereas at least this time it's all in July. These big films are dropping, which does make it a bit better. But it does make me think that maybe they could have tinkered or altered a couple of release dates to just pad them out a little bit more than that intense July. Because Mission Impossible should be July. Indiana Jones, I know people want to. Indiana Jones could have been the end of May. Probably worked as well as it could have done. It is interesting that June seems to be the really bulky one, and July's your heavy hitters, and then August is just a drift. But we'll be here. We'll be covering them, and kind of like that. I know we spoke about the predictions. So not that it's a game or anything, but just to recap. So we've got a couple here. What do we think will be the best? I think Oppenheimer best film, Mission Impossible best blockbuster. I think Mission Impossible is going to be the highest grossing worldwide box office, not American. And most disappointing box office wise, I am going to say I'm not including Asteroid City because that's not a blockbuster. Neither really Insidious. I think it's unfair and elemental. Of the big hitters, I'm saying Transformers. I think that's going to disappointing box. It'll make money, but I think compared to the past history of Transformers films, I think it's going to really struggle.
So for me, what do I think will be the best? I want to say Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse would be the best from this season. What do I think is going to be the highest grossing? I'm going to back it. I'm going to say Barbie is going to be the highest grossing of this season. What do I think is going to be the most disappointing box office-wise? I think for those two reasons, I feel like Oppenheimer isn't going to make much money. It's going to be a fantastic film, but I don't think it's going to be making anywhere near as much money as it would have aimed. I'm thinking 200 mil, 300 mil max.
Do you think they're max?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to do Dunkirk numbers. I'm thinking this is the 400s easy.
I don't think so. Because at least Dunkirk, you're promised kind of heavy action sequences. You've got like scenes on the beach in the trailer. You've got action. You've got Harry Styles in there to actually advertise to a different demographic, a little bit at least.
No, because no one watched his films from last year.
Dare I say, there was a lot going for Dunkirk. With this film, it's a black and white kind of like magnum opus or kind of like, it's going to be an artsy film. It's going to be very, very artsy. And I just don't think it's going to compete with the things around it. I think it's going to suffer financially because of that.
Okay, we'll find out. It is a good prediction to make. That's one I just can't see.
Is the box office bouncing back? Yes. I think this is going to be the best box office year in years.
I think we're not going to get the here's XYZ films all hitting $1 billion. I think it's going to be a bit like last year. You might get one or two hit a bill. Maybe like a reset. Like even I think because pre-COVID films were insanely doing well. Like again, $9 billion films in 2019. We're not going to get that for years, and it took years and years to even get that. It used to be here's $1 billion film every couple of years. Then it was look, here's like 2 a year. Here's maybe 3. I think we're going to head into that sort of territory soon. But box office was I just think certain franchises, I'm not saying dead because they're not. While audiences are going to go to a big franchise less than they used to, I think they're going to put that money elsewhere and they'll be going to what entertains them. So I'm very curious. And I do think the box office is in the best state it's been in since COVID now. Again, Mario hitting a bill. Other films doing very well. B-list films have been making money this year as well, which is what hadn't been happening. So, we're in a good place. And I do think it's now up for the studios to make and fund and pay the staff that write them.
Exactly.
Those films because I know we haven't discussed it. It's not really important for today, but, that writer's strike in 2007 killed a lot of films.
Yeah.
And the two most famous examples will always be Quantum of Solace, I guess, and Transformers 2. I know people hate that anyway, but Michael Bay blames the writer's strike for that. And if people don't know the significance of that writer's strike and what it may affect, do read into it. It's pretty scary what the studios are trying to push on writers, not just payment stuff. There's a lot of other things in there. And it is very much something that is going to affect the box office. Now, it's a 30-day strike at the moment. There's already a lot of things already delayed. So it'd be curious to see if the strike extends if studios back down. I think Stranger Things yesterday said we're not doing anything now. And that's going to be the first.
They're delayed. Blade's been delayed as well already.
Blade's been shut down. That had been happening a lot. But Marvel will no longer have writers on set, which is what happens. Showrunners that have writing credits can no longer do showrunning or be on set. They can be a showrunner, but they can't be on set. So there's a lot of things in production, things that you don't know about, things they're planning that will all halt. And I said that the best case scenario, they've got this 30-day one, but it's for the studios to resolve these issues with cast, with writers. So, and people don't know how significant the unions are with American film. It's not like unions for workers here, but the Directors Guild of America is why Steven Spielberg didn't direct Return of the Jedi. They blocked any Directors Guild's director doing it. So have a look into historic things with those guilds, and it'll be interesting to see what else follows. But it's a bit of a downer to end this box office talk on. In the box office, but
at least we had a long talk about all the things that are going to be coming up. A good discussion about what we're looking forward to and everything like that coming up with the Summer Blockbuster Season Yeah, we want to know what you guys are looking forward to as well in the comments. Like, what do you think will be the best? What do you think will be the highest grossing? Do you think there's going to be any massive bombs this year in the box office? Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. And as well, if you want to get involved, we mentioned we'll be having reviews up for lots of these films. Sometimes we do spoiler discussion, sometimes it's spoiler free, sometimes it's just one. Go subscribe if you're looking forward to any of those, and get us on social media where we can announce these kind of videos, those kinds of films. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinema_savvy. Link to Redbubble in that description below. What is coming next? Well, we don't have anything official until Fast and Furious, but as we say, any videos we have, discussions, things that pop up, maybe there'll be some trailer drops where we want to do a discussion. Maybe we've got to announce some stuff. We'll put them on social media first or upload them to the channel. So do hit the subscribe button if you want to hear about them, and the notification button if you want alerts when videos do go up. Aside from that, I don't really have anything else to plug.
No.
Guardians of the Galaxy, we did our review on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
if you've seen it, we hope you enjoyed it. But aside from that, Tate, thank you for coming on tonight. Again, thank you to everyone for watching, for commenting, and going back to the anniversary. We mentioned at the start of the video, supporting the channel over the years. It does mean a lot. We wouldn't be able to do this without people watching our videos, of course. So, and that being said, thank you. Take care. And see you on the next one.